Welcome to Shalom World's show Beyond the Vision, where we feature faith-based films that inspire and transform lives. I'm Leslie Cervantez. Our feature film tonight is All is Merry and Bright. We have with us today director Cory Edwards, who is an American filmmaker. He's an actor and animator, as well as Shun Fong, who is a producer, actor, and writer. Let's meet our guests who are going to dive into more about this film. Welcome, Cory and Shun Lee.
Hi there. Good to be here.
It's a very exciting time for you guys, and you're on the move. So we're so thankful for you having this time here with us. So I'm just going to jump into it and just say that I love Christmas movies. Like, I just feel like I want to snuggle on the couch with, a warm blanket. And so we would love to know more about, the story behind the title of the movie. All is Merry and Bright. What was the inspiration behind the movie? And what message did you intend to convey?
That's a really good question, Leslie. I really appreciate that. This script came to us about 2 years, a little bit more ago, and we had the opportunity to read over it from Darby Scaglione, who wrote this. And she came to us and said, "What do you think of this?" And we thought, what a great opportunity to share with the world what the meaning of a perfect Christmas is. That sometimes the idea of a perfect Christmas is a little different than what it is in reality. And we really wanted to portray the message of that the perfect Christmas really is about loving God and loving people. And sometimes we make it way more important or too much glamour and glitz and lights when that's really not what it's all about. And we wanted to share that with the world.
I love that. It's so true. You really brought in the reality of, the hustle and bustle of, the Christmas season that we can go through, and just bringing that perspective back to what truly matters, which is Christ and family, and just having those beautiful moments together. So, Cory, how did you go about finding the perfect cast for this movie? They all kind of gelled together. It was really great watching them interact with each other.
Thanks. I really think there are many ways that God has blessed this production. And I saw little winks from God all along the way when we were making this, but a big one was the cast. I look back now, there are many ways that we found this cast, but I look back now and I can't imagine not having the exact cast that we have. There were people like John O'Hurley and Sally Struthers who are just TV legends. But I was fortunate enough, how God will set up chess pieces years earlier. Those are people that I have had relationships with through just other means over the years. And this seemed like the project to give them a call. This was the project where I said, "Hey, would you consider doing this?" And then people like Emily Rose and Eric Close, I think that Shun Lee and the producers and the Greenhouse, which is their company, they have had relationships with those two and have crossed paths over the years. So those main four really gave us, that marquee value, but they were also relationships that God had kind of established years ago. And then we have some of the other people, like the kids in the family that you'll see in this movie. We went through our casting director, and dozens of auditions were sent to me for each kid. And that was one where all I can say is when the right person was reading the audition, there was something that just kind of sparked, something that I can't define, where I thought, I want to hang out with that person. We're going to hang out for, 22 days together. And there was something that where if they said a particular joke and they got the joke in their head and their comedic timing was good, but there was a sincerity to Gracie, Matt, and Ellis, the three kids. And when I saw them on set together, it was so amazing. We did not have that time, that rehearsal time to take everybody bowling or karaoke and make sure that they all gelled together and acted like a family. From day one, they acted like a family and they got along like a family. And Matt became the big brother to the other kids in the cast. And also Desiree, who was the cousin, she gelled instantly with our other kids. It was an amazing God ordained thing. The last thing I'll say is Angel, who played Marco, the next door neighbor, he was a last minute casting decision. I had picked another young man that I thought was going to be great, but he was from LA. They said, you got to pick from these. I think it was like two people that were adjacent to Atlanta. Just the nature of the budget and the schedule. It had to be somebody near Atlanta. I was like, and Angel happened to like say a joke in a certain way in the audition. I was like, yeah, I am. And then for 22 days, he was a treasure trove of extra little moments. So all of these kids and all the whole cast, they gave me extra moments that were not on the page, and that's where God was at work, and that Angel was meant to be Marco. Eric Close was meant to be Paul. Emily was meant to be Jessica, and that's where I just now, here a year later, we're just marveling at the cast is really half the battle, and we got a good one.
I completely agree. You can really feel that coming through in the film. And you mentioned that connection, and it really brings the story to life, and we're able to relate to it. So especially with Jessica's story and character, a lot of us, especially me being a mom and a woman, and understanding all of the things that we go through of taking care of all the things that we need to for the holiday season. You really portrayed a relatable character to the audience. So I think that they can also find hope, right, in this movie. And so, what was it like creating her character, knowing that you would be giving hope to others for those who may not have hope this Christmas season?
I just want to give a shout out to our two writers. This was written by two ladies that kind of knew what they wanted to say to women, and obviously, I am not able to know that. But Darby wrote a story, and she created a character that she really wanted to see on screen that she doesn't see all the time. And then Vicki Edwards came on and did a rewrite, and she added layers to each character that Darby had set up. She said, "I want to see women behaving and relationships with other women that I don't see all the time on the screen." So I was really following their lead and just making sure that we got it right.
Shenley, I'm gonna ask this question. What was your favorite scene in the movie, and why? Like, if we were to ask, which scene of the movie would you really think is going to touch the heart of the viewers, which one would that be?
My favorite scene, without giving anything away, I don't want to give away some of the key plot points, but my favorite scene was when they're all sitting at the table together, and there's this back and forth as a family that was just so genuine and real as they were relating to one another as real family members. I like to tell people that Christmas films tend to be kind of like science fiction, either like they're utopian or
Right.
they're dystopian. Utopian being the very sentimental, the best thing ever. Dystopian being this is the worst thing we've ever seen. Family being at each other's throats. This was nothing like this. That we really sense the camaraderie and the sense of the family coming together, and never more so than at that table together as they're having dinner and kind of poking fun at each other and having fun with each other and mild little insults in the best way that families can do. It was a really beautiful moment to shoot.
I love that. How about you, Corey? What was your favorite scene?
Well, there's a moment. I don't want to give away what happens at the end of the movie, but there's a moment where things kind of come to the highest crisis you can take your characters to. And one thing that you always ask writers and directors to define is, what are the stakes of the movie? And the stakes really aren't anything more than, will Jessica, I mean, she has physical problems that are coming into her body more and more and more. But also, will she have a perfect Christmas? But there's this moment where, like, toward the end of the film, where her son says, "Mom, you're being really intense," and she says, "Well, the stakes are high, Nick." And it always makes me laugh because the stakes aren't high. But we're not collecting infinity stones here. The world's not going to end. But for her, the world is going to end. And Emily really projected that. She's like, the stakes are high. She looks like a crazy person. And that makes me laugh. And that's what Shun Li is talking about too, is that I hope people will get that it's the bitter with the sweet. It's the frenzy and the chaos with the joy and the love of a family. And that was one of my favorite nights because it was also a late night, and there's some stunts involved. I won't give anything away, but like there was a lot to get done that night. But we were shooting it almost like an action scene with this mom, and that's one of my favorites.
Absolutely. And so Corey, I was gonna just kind of mention that, the culture of Christmas season has become secularized, and everything, and it kind of shifted the true meaning of Christmas. And in the film All Is Merry and Bright, you clearly keep Christ in Christmas. So we just, we want to know, like, how intentional was this? Were there some of the practical decisions that you made to make this possible in the film?
Obviously, the mission of this film is to reach out to the world and give a faith-based answer to what Christmas is really all about. If we're going to talk about Christmas, we're going to talk about what it really means. And even Jessica and some of the characters in this film would say that they're Christians. They would say they go to church, but Jessica is confronted with, do you really celebrate Christmas? Like, do you really is all of this other stuff, the perfect wreath, the perfect table setting, what does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything if you forget that God loves you for who you are. You're his child. And this is the gift he gave to us. And that one Christmas, if we don't talk about Jesus, we're not really talking about Christmas. So that's why I'm excited. And I think that this film will entertain people on many levels. And then maybe even people that don't celebrate Christmas in the true way of Jesus's birth, I think that there will be something there for them to wake them up a little bit to the real meaning. And I'm excited about that.
Shun Li, you have not shied away from talking about your faith in Hollywood. You use your creativity to glorify Christ. How important do you think it is for Christian filmmakers to not give into the culture, but to just strongly be a witness for Christ and his message through their creative works?
I think it's really important to be in touch with that as a creative artist. I think it was J.J. Abrams who said that faith has to be part of the discussion, or you're missing something. That's a butchered quotation, but I think I've really come to believe that as a creative professional myself. Is that if you try to divorce yourself from that, you're actually removing a part of who you are as a person. And we try to instill that in the creative artists we're running into every day. We've worked with 11,000 creative professionals around the world. And that's one of the things we say. It's a pillar of who you are. What your belief system says something about what you're going to put on the screen, or what you're going to put on the page, or you're
Right.
going to do in your music. And so we really encourage people, tap into that, talk about those things. Those things are important. And it doesn't have to be that it's just all the dogma, the stuff that you say you believe. It could also be the things that you wrestle with, the questions that you wrestle with your faith, and we all do if we're honest with ourselves. And I think sometimes the best art comes with creatives who are wrestling with their faith, trying to find answers, but even more so, asking the right questions. And I think that's the beauty of Christianity, that it encourages questions. It encourages us to wrestle with God. I mean, that's what the name Israel means. It means he who wrestles with God. And so as creative artists, we get the opportunity to wrestle with these things and not come up with easy answers, but to say, hey, life is difficult. It's not easy. But through the arts, and by attaching our faith through those arts, we get to have the opportunity to come up with some answers, but also share the answers that we find with other people. And even more so, ask some of the questions that sometimes they don't feel like they have permission to ask. It becomes I think, a really important role that artists play, especially in Hollywood, where it's reaching the entire world. I think to have stuff on screen that asks the important questions and struggles to find the answers, but also encourages other people to dig for those answers. I think that becomes really important as in terms of our role as creatives.
And Corey, you too, you have not shied away from talking about your faith. Like, how important do you think it is for Christian artists and filmmakers to witness their faith through their works? And I guess if you could give us a little insight of how you deal with that in present day culture.
Well, I think that all growing up, I'm one of those filmmaker kids that I've wanted to do this since I was like 12 years old, but I never saw myself as a Christian filmmaker, but a filmmaker who's a Christian. I think there's a difference there. Like I was a kid that grew up loving pop culture, loving comic books and Star Wars and fantasy films, but also I grew up, in a strong Christian home and developed my own strong Christian faith. So as an artist, whatever I do, who I am is going to hopefully be infused into the work as an artist. So, I would encourage Christians who are artists to work on your faith and then make your art excellent and make sure that, I think that that will naturally come, that your faith will be infused into the work. And I also say, springboarding off what Shun Li said, the greatest stories ask the greatest questions. Like who are we? Why are we here? What is the meaning of all this? And so I think that the movies and the television shows and other art that stick with us are the ones that ask those great questions. So I think that we as Christians, we're just trying to put, I like to say, universal truths into the movies that we make, and Christ will visit people that way.
That's amazing. Corey, what do you think is the most compelling takeaway from this movie that remind the viewers about Christ, about Christmas, about the good news that he brought to this world?
I think the bottom line that we want to get across with this movie is that God does not demand our perfection. He just demands us to come as we are. We are enough. Every one of you is enough. It's not about what you do. It's not about what you present to the world. And I think that our main character, she gets caught kind of showboating a little bit. She gets caught up in, will people love me if I do enough? If my Christmas is perfect enough? Will my kids want to, when they go off to college, will they come home again to my perfect house? And God says, you are enough from the day you were born, and I want you as you are. And I hope that people who have had a barrier up about coming to Christ will see that they'll see themselves in the flawed characters we're portraying. We're not portraying perfection. We're actually telling people God doesn't want perfection. He wants you. He will mold you the way that you are right now, and he will take whatever you give him and run with it.
We love this film. We want to make sure that everybody gets out to watch this film. So, Shun Li, can you tell us how and where our viewers can watch this movie?
If they go to the website maryandbright.movie, maryandbright.movie, they can look for the closest theater to them. We hope that they will all go see it on opening weekend so that we can go to the trade magazines and say, hey, look how great we did on the first weekend. People really are hungry for this kind of content, and we hope to have even more theaters the next weekend.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Shun Li, for joining me here today on Beyond the Vision. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you today and learning so much more about this film. I invite you to take your whole family to watch this film. It is a beautiful, beautiful film. Till next time, Shalom.